Boards and booze, booze and boards, drinks and beers, fight some hordes. Drank too much, forgot our swords, ran back home, filled our gourds, got drunk again, sang some chords. Boards and booze and boards, with Mickey and Jeb.
Not many options, but you do. Ah! I wasn't expecting that. He said he didn't know what he was going to do with it. Alright.
My Viking axe, Jeb! My Viking axe!
Is there a reason you brought the Viking axe to Booze and Boards with Mickey and Jeb?
Because I am going to be the champion of Midgard!
Oh, Midgard. That sounds familiar.
That's the same word for Earth.
Oh. It also is familiar because we played Champions of Midgard at... What convention was it again?
PAX Unplugged.
At PAX Unplugged. That's where we first got
almost
to play it.
a year ago now, actually.
Yeah. And if you notice this fancy box that doesn't even have the name of it, because it's the special edition box, right?
Yes.
Where it's all the pretty artwork and the name's on the side of the box. So, you want to talk about it?
Sure, Jeff, let's talk about it. Don't forget the other pretty playmat.
Oh yeah, alright, so it takes two people to hold this up. That's what we will be using. What was it? You got the base game, the expansions, the playmat. They had all of that in like some big bundle at PAX Unplugged. I don't know if they do that at all the conventions or not.
That's because that was a Kickstarter. That's why they only had it at the convention.
Okay.
So the story behind that whole thing is that we were at PAX, we eyeballed the thing, we both decided we wanted to give it a try, we finally got a seat at the table, we played it.
Six-player game.
Mickey really liked it.
Mickey won.
Mickey won on a card flip. That really... Well, it was a secret thing, so Jeb thought he had it again, and Mickey went boom, and then Jeb got sad. So, liked it, and because the box and the playmat, and there's a couple other things I think that Jeb has laying there that come with it that were Kickstarter exclusive, they had available at the convention. I bought those, just those. So I bought this box and the playmat, and I had already spent a ton of other monies. That's all I bought, knowing I could get the base game later. Then my good friend Jeb goes and buys the base game for me for Christmas, so I got the whole thing now. So anyways.
And this box actually holds
everything.
The base game and the two expansions.
Right, so I don't even have the regular box anymore. Everything fits right in here. And as a side note to that, guess what? Coming up is a new Kickstarter from them shortly.
Oh, yeah.
Which is Champions of Midgard Ravengers, I believe it's called.
I completely forgot that until I remembered that Mickey told me about it, because that's why we're doing this video right now. So.
Well, it's not why. It was that. It is one of the reasons why, but it is actually a worker placement game that it's cat's out of the bag. We played it at PAX, and we both said we already liked it. Yeah. So hopefully we're going to show you. We also in this episode are going to do something that I don't think we've ever done before. We are going to play this game with both the expansions that are already on here. One, because it's cool, and two, because honestly, it's really not that hard in this case to add the expansions to the game. It's really, really simple, because it just adds a couple new things.
More places where you can put your worker, pretty much.
Right, but the new things that it adds, usually it's like, I'm going to add this one new thing. So it's not overbearing, and then everything else is exactly the same. Yeah. So we're going to show you the whole kit and caboodle for this one. And if I lose...
I'm running out of room before that.
So, Jeb,
He's like, Jeb, think twice before you flip that
Let
card.
The Wookiee win. That's all I can say.
And I guess we should probably mention it. It's Gray Fox Games that published it. It's a game by Ole Steinus.
And we've got 2 to 5 people.
Oh, it was a 5-player game we played, not 6.
So Jeb got that wrong.
Yep.
And 60 to 120 minutes, so an hour to 2 hours, and that's probably going to be based on number of people, and ages 14 plus. Yeah.
They probably
Maybe.
accounted for like theme and all that stuff
Yeah.
as well.
So you can decide that if you watch the gameplay and how complicated you think it is. So there's a ton of stuff in this box. So
the playmat, it isn't just the normal board of the base game. It actually includes all the expansion stuff as well. That was one thing I wanted to say.
So we'll show you how that all works when we do the components, because what we can do is just overlay the board pieces over the game mat, and you can kind of see what's happening, like what sections it represents, and or maybe not. I don't know. That's really big. It depends on how Jeb wants to film it, and if he is not going to do that, then he's just going to cut all this out anyways.
Yeah, probably.
All right. Anyways, we'll be back for components, and then setup, and then mechanics, and then we're going to play.
2-player game.
Yes.
Yep.
Most likely, unless we find somebody, which I don't know who we're going to find.
Yeah, if somebody's walking on the street, maybe we'll get them. Alright, we'll be back.
Okay, so this is a big play area, as you can see, and we're going to do something a little bit different since we are doing expansions like we don't usually do. We're going to show you, this is the playmat that they came out with that handles everything that's out currently. Okay, so if you don't have the playmat, here's what you're going to have. So here's the board. This is the base game board. Okay, and everything matches. All right, and then that would go up. I'm gonna keep it down a little bit. Okay, so there, it's a pretty big board anyways, but this is just Champions of Midgard. Okay, this is the mountains, right? What's it called?
Yeah, giants, mountains, I don't know.
It's called the Dark Mountains. Okay, this is the Dark Mountains expansion. You would get this, and then you would just put this above the board somewhere. And then this is the Valhalla expansion, and as you'll notice it matches this section of the board. And then the last piece that if you have, they added so that you could play with more than 4 people. So you would add this somewhere, and that basically is the marketplace that has, you use these if it has, 5, if you're up to 5 players, okay, and then these see the marketplaces that don't have symbols. Obviously those are always in effect, but anyways, so those would be all the pieces if you had everything not built into the playmat. Alright, so now we're going to take all this stuff away now that you've seen it, and we'll go back to our normal components, so hopefully they're up close a little bit better. We are going to play the game from that angle so that you can see everything going on. Again, it is a game that takes up some space on the table, but it is pretty cool having so many sections. Back with components. As you can see, this game, especially with the expansion, it has a ton of components, so it probably looks a little overwhelming. Trust us, it's not once you see how everything works. Yep. It's just building on the base anyways. Yep.
So we already showed you the board, so next up we'll do the player color markers and the meeples that are associated with that color.
Right, so basically color markers and meeples upgraded, you get things that look like Vikings. So, alright, and I am going to remove
that's
these.
Special stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I have basically all the colors separated with the Viking meeples. These are backups in case something gets lost or whatever, so that's that.
Alright, then there's the Viking leaderboards.
Right, so you have numerous Vikings that you can pick from to pick your leader. That's who you're going to play with. They all have some sort of inherent ability on their card. Is a nice artwork on one side. Flip it over. the ability is still listed here, but it now has a place for your dice.
And
Your
up in the
warriors
top
or
right
whatever.
is
Oh,
where
sorry.
you put your color token.
Right, that's where you put your, so you mark your card with the color here. If you'll notice, there's like 2 of each. That's because the big Viking helmet replaced one of them for your scoring trap.
And I guess we can talk about one of the expansion components since it kind of goes with it. But there's the leader abilities.
Right. So each of these is a leader ability.
This is from the Valhalla expansion.
Okay, so if you notice, they actually have a picture that, like, let's find this guy. There he is. Okay, so there's his leader ability that goes with him. So it basically slide again, matches the picture, flip it over, and there you go. So you have a place for your leader die, and then your warrior die over here.
Next up is the round marker and the first player marker.
Okay, so first player marker is in here, as well as the round marker, also that little timer. Okay.
Then there are the small and large public longships and private longships.
Here are the ships, and yes, the chicken is a ship. It was a little, in my opinion, a funny thing they did. So I have 2 piles here just so you can see real quick. So there's 2 public ships, and they say public launch ship on them. One has a capacity of 5, the other one's a 10, and then these are various different ones that you can, like, basically you can buy your own ship, and then you put it in front of you and you have access to it all the time. The chicken is also a ship. It's a public ship. If I remember correctly, the chicken you don't have to feed your guys.
Do not encounter the journey card or pay food costs. Wow, that's actually really good.
Right, so see the journey card, the chicken flies over it, and then you eat the chicken.
Nice.
Which is kind of funny. Of all the things in the expansion, I think we're actually going to leave the chicken out.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, I just feel like it's kind of funny more than anything. But it's a neat thing to add. I know we said we were going to play with both expansions, and we're just not going to use chicken. Alright?
Alright, next up are the market stall tiles.
Market stalls. We have economic market, the military market, and the permanent. So these are random, so that the game changes. There's going to be a place to set a worker so that you get different things. But, like I said, they change the game each time because these are going to be different. And this is a beggar spot here, okay? So those are the 3 different ones. But the main ones are the economic and the military, which will get shuffled up and randomly put on the board.
Alright, next up are some cards. So there are, let's go over the small cards first.
Okay.
So there are the rune cards.
Okay, so the rune cards are, they have this back that looks like there's a tower in the mountains. So it's, basically like, oh, I found a ruin that nobody had discovered. The other way you can tell is that each card actually has a picture of rune on it. That helps because, honestly, these look very similar, and they're very easy to get confused.
Next up are the merchant ship cards.
Merchant ship cards have the picture of the ship on the back, and then they have various ship costs on there.
The destiny cards.
The destiny cards are the ones that look like there's a light beaming out of the ground. And they are all like victory point end game condition type things. They're all different. A little bit of luck based on if it's going to pay off for you. It can end up beating Jeb in a game though.
There's the journey cards.
Okay, see, these are the journey cards. All right, they have a different picture of some boats on it. All right, and then basically they're oh, what happened to you on this particular journey for sailing, and some of them are bad, some are bad things, and then some of them say, oh, you had a nice all quiet journey and nothing happens to you.
You gotta shuffle those.
Right.
And then what the Dark Mountain expansion added was the land journey deck.
Right. So similar to the regular journey, these green ones with a person hiking are the land journey ones. And again, something bad might happen, or you might get an all quiet. Okay?
And then one thing to note, both of the expansions actually came with extra cards that went in the other decks, so we're going to mix those in as well.
Yep. Which is one of the nice things about this particular way they did expansions, is they didn't make you take original stuff out and then put expansion stuff in. They just said, throw it in.
I like that.
Yeah, I think most people like that. But sometimes a game like something like Waterdeep just doesn't work if you don't take some of the stuff out, because it's so clogged you might never see anything for the expansion.
Alright, so let's talk about the large cards now.
Alright.
On the far left we got the monster cards.
Monster cards. These are the ones that you sail to different islands to combat the monster before they get to you. All kinds of different monsters. You'll notice they also have different colors also, which can make a difference.
Then there's the troll cards.
Troll cards. They're all trolls, but they have varying powers, or yeah, I guess that's the best way to pay it. Various strength is a better way, I think, rather than power.
Then the Draugr, I think is how you pronounce it.
This is still base game, if I remember correctly. Alright, again, the just various different things to fight.
More things to fight.
Right.
The Dark Mountain expansion introduces the Burgerseer, I think is...
Right. So the Burgerseer, these are the ones... This is the monsters. To get to them, you have to go through the land journey to get to these guys.
Then next are the Valkyrie Blessing cards.
Right, the Valkyrie Blessing cards is this
This
big...
is the Valhalla expansion.
Right? It introduces the Valkyrie stuff. These are the Valkyrie Blessing cards. They all give you something different. They all cost something different. But one of the biggest things about these cards are, this is the way that you can get, if your leader dice gets consumed, this is the way you can get it back, is through these cards. One other thing to note about these cards, there are instant ones that happen right away, and then there's some permanent effects that will linger with you for the rest of the game if you acquire them.
And then the last deck of large cards are the Epic Monsters, which are also in the Valhalla expansion.
Right. Again, what's going to happen with these is, I believe it's 4 of them. They come out and they sit there through the game, and there's only going to be 4 of them, so it's random, but you have a chance to acquire them, and they're worth a lot of victory points because, like Jeb just called them, they are epic.
Yeah.
So that's why this is a little bit thinner, because it's just random each game.
Alright, let's move on to some of the other components. We'll do the food and wood cubes.
Food and wood cube.
The food are the red, the wood are the brown. Then there's the coins, which are just coins.
Oh, he missed.
Then the favor tokens.
Favor tokens are the horn.
Yep. And the blame tokens.
Blame tokens. These are really cool.
And then now let's move on to the Viking Warrior dice.
Yes.
So
this
the
is
ones that are in the base.
If you like dice chucking, this is a game for you.
Alright, so the expansions do add more of these, so this is going to be what's in the base right now, are the white, the red, and the black.
Which we have your swordsman, your spearman, and your axeman.
So
Okay.
that's what you would get in the base game. The Dark Mountain expansion adds Mickey's favorite thing ever, the Archers.
Archers.
And they are the green dice. And then the Valhalla expansion are going to introduce my favorite, the Berserkers. And then there are the leader dice.
Notice how few of the leader dice, because you are only allowed to have, you can only possess one at a time.
And then the last one are the Shield Warriors.
And there's the Shield Warriors.
So those are all the different warriors that are going to be in our game since we're mixing everything.
We'll repeat this, but just so you know, the reason for the different warriors is because some are more effective against monsters than others.
Yeah. Because some monsters actually are like, you can't
Immune
use...
to, you can't use this guy. So you will have to, you might, I don't know, if you're jumping ahead, you might be looking like, why do I need all these different things? And that's kind of the point.
All right, and then I think the last thing we need to talk about are things that come in the Valhalla expansion, and that is the Valhalla board, which each player is going to get one of these.
Basically, it's your...
oh, the burial ground. Sorry, not Valhalla board.
So basically, it represents like Valhalla, heaven, or whatever you want to call it, and you're going to basically put your dead people here.
Yes, because the other thing it introduced were the sacrifice tokens.
Right.
And
so basically, these represent your people that went in. Actually, it's not just in battle. Anytime you lose a person, you're going to get one of these chits.
And you place it on Valhalla, right?
With the exception of if you got too many dice. You don't get a chit for too many dice. You actually have to have it. He actually had to sacrifice himself in one way, whether it's you starved him to death, or he died in battle, or you just like, I don't like you, whatever. So you always get one when something dies.
And the only other thing is a quick reference guide that Mickey has out there.
Yep. They didn't give one for everybody to have. They just gave a fairly large size one. Honestly, not much need for it, I don't think, once you got the hang of the game, because the reference card really is mostly about components, not about gameplay. So the gameplay, I believe, is indicated. Like the round order is actually on the game mat.
Yeah.
And I think it's on the game board if you have the board. So that's your help to remember there. So other than that, I think that is all components, unless Jeb says me I missed something.
Nope, that's everything.
All right.
So we will be back with setup. All right, so we're back with setup, and as you can see, we're up high again, so you can see the entire board. So the first thing you're going to do is place the board on the table and put the round marker in the round 1 space.
All right.
So
the round marker is the hourglass thing. So you're going to stick that right there on the round marker. The game is played, if you can't see that, it's 1 through 8. So you got 8 rounds to do what you're going to do.
Yep.
And become the most glorious and beat Jeb.
The second thing...
I'm having a real problem beating Jeb lately, though, I'll tell you, at least on camera.
He's
Happens off camera.
I'm sure you'll break the spell.
I don't know.
Alright, next up is shuffle market stall tiles and place them face up according to player count.
Okay.
So we're playing a 2-player game. So
here's market style. And Jeb's going to point to the market on the play mat so you can see. So that is incorporated for all of the expansions. Otherwise, you might have a board off to the side.
Right. There's 2 that have nothing on the inside. Then there's one that has a 3 people, a 4 people, and 2 5 peoples. So the way that it works is in a 2-player game, there's going to be 1 military, 1 economic. So Mickey drew a military and an economic. So we put those there. If it was a 3-player game, it would be 1 military and 2 economic, and then you put the other one there. In a 4-player game, 2 military, 2 economic. So these 4 would be filled. And in a 5-player game, 3 and 3. So all 6 would be filled.
Right. And if you don't have this player mat, there's a permanent marketplace called the Beggar. The Beggar's represented down there. And that little
Yeah, it has like multiple fading out.
Means as many meeples can be put there as you want, and I mean, that might be a little out of order, but I said it anyways.
That's fine. Alright, next up you're going to place the public long chips in the spaces and the private ones to the side of the shipwright hut. So the shipwright is right here, and he's got a public long ship.
Okay, and so public long ship with a capacity of 5, public long ship with a capacity of 10. Please note that it says public at the top,
Yes.
just so you know. And then the other ones are going to go up the side here, and the ones that go up the side are actually indicated by number of players on the top, so you can see, well, you probably can't see. Anyways, this says 3 players, this has 4 players, this has 5 players. So guess what? Those aren't going out. And as we told you before, we're not playing with chicken. Even though the chicken's kind of cool.
Next up is, this part is pretty much all the cards of the game.
Right.
So you're going to shuffle all the decks and place them in their respective spots. So let's just go through them and show them where to place the cards.
It's going to be really, really hard for you to see most of the stuff on the board. But on the board and on the mat, you can see the outline of the back of the card on these spaces. So it is telling you what gets put where.
Yep.
And Jeb's pointing at some too. So I guess we can just start down at the bottom.
Yep.
This spot right here is
Monster.
actually the biggest deck in the game, honestly.
Right above the monsters are the journey cards, which
Cause havoc.
Yep. So I think that's everything on this portion of the board. So let's move up here. I know this is the Destiny deck, and this is the Rune deck. And then over here we got the Troll and the Draugr. Then up here is the, what is it? How do you pronounce it? Burgersar?
I just call them a burger.
All right. The burgers are up farther. And then there's the Land Journey deck that goes with them. And then over, is it right here? Or the Valkyrie Blessings, I think, go in that one.
There's a tower for them. Okay, so the last cards to put on the board are the epic monsters from the Valhalla expansion. You shuffle these up, and for 2 to 3 players, you're going to randomly put 2 of them up there. And so we're 2 players. But in 4 and 5 players, I'll put them upside down, you get 1 in that spot too.
So the epic monsters take up the top row of this area. And then the last deck that I skipped over, there's a merchant ship deck. And it'll go down here. So that's all the decks.
Blessing deck also flips over for setup at the beginning of the game. So those fill in. That is not based on number of players.
Next up, you're going to place the food, the wood, the Viking warrior dice, all the coins, and any other tokens next to the board. So as you can see, Mickey just has them lined up. When we play, we'll put them next to the board, so it's not that big of a deal. Then you're going to determine the first player. So say Mickey's first player.
I get the first player.
All right, starting to the first player's right, the players are going to choose the Viking leaderboard.
So I get to go first, but I get last pick on who I get.
I'll pick her.
Jeb's taking sexy redhead warrior. I'm actually going to play the bear guy because I actually played him the first time, and being able to swap any resource was really huge.
Oh, you actually remember that stuff. I don't. And then since we're playing the Valhalla expansion, also grab their leader ability.
Yep.
And give that to the person.
And that just goes right under or on top of the way Jeb has it. It doesn't really matter where you place it. I think top's better.
And then you are going to take the worker meeples for each player And everybody starts with 1 food, 1 wood, 1 coin, 1 favor, and 1 swordsman.
Okay, so 1 swordsman. And your 1 wood and 1 food.
1 wood, 1 food, 1 coin, 1 favor.
Favors are the horns. We'll go over it again, but the favors let you re-roll. And Jeb gets to start with a blame.
No. I was thinking, I was like, maybe there is some rule somewhere.
That says Jeb starts with a blame.
I will not be surprised if that's in a rule book someday.
Written by me.
Yeah. And then you also want to grab the meeples for the...
What color would you like to be, Jeb?
I'll be green.
Got him trained well. He didn't pick blue.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have given him it to him.
I know.
He could have picked it. But there's the green.
So normally you would get 2 of the little circles, but Mickey has the upgraded components, which has the little horn. So what you do is take 1 of the circles and put it on your leaderboard, and then the horns are going to go up at the 0 spot.
So you just have an extra that you could use for something else, or if you don't like the horns because you can't stack them or whatever, fine, use the other one. But this is just so that you can swap characters and colors, and you can, you know, if you guys have watched me, you know that I always like to have blue, and when I don't get blue, then I get confused.
Yes. And then another thing you got to do is when you have all your meeples, you're going to take 1 of them and put them in the general supply, which is just off to the side. So I'm going to set mine up here. That way I'll remember, or I'll see it. And that's just because you can earn that later in the game, right?
And then normally you would have 3 meeples, but in a 2-player game, I believe we get 4. The other thing in your bag is just that if you end up circling around the track, there's a plus 100, and you flip it over and it's a plus 200 to put under your thing so that you remember you go. How you would forget how many times you went around the track is beyond me. But maybe it's so that you can rub it in their face and be like, I got over 100. I lapped you, whatever.
And then,
so, anyways.
The very last thing is everybody's going to receive 1 face down, or 1 random destiny card, which you want to keep face down. Nobody should know this because it is in-game victory.
It is
extra victory points.
Right, and they don't know what you have. Oh, Jeb looked at mine and put that on the bottom. Not that he knew what it was.
And that's everything for setup, because actually when you start the game is when you're going to actually like populate the stuff. So this is just setting up the board.
And so technically, because Jeb said that you populate it when you start, the reason I showed you these spots is because they were, well, this one wasn't, but the top one is dependent on number of players.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's actually important. Okay, so we are back with gameplay / mechanics. We have found out that we will be able to play a 3-player game. So
if you watch setup,
right?
We
So
set up for
expanding 2. From setup, which we told you it was going to be a 2-player game, it's now going to be a 3-player game. So over in the market, we add 1 more economic tile. So we're going to grab a random one and put that in there. And are there any spaces? I don't think there's any other spaces on the board.
Right, this is for 4-player.
That's for 4-player.
We do need another long ship, though.
Right, so the other long ship, where'd the other long ship go? Over here. And that long ship has a 3-player icon on it. So basically there's enough long ships for everybody to buy one. And I think that's about it for extra setup part.
Oh, for a 3-player game, everybody only has 3 meeples instead of 4. Because in the 2-player game, we would have had 4 meeples. 3-player game and more, you only have 3. So you will put those to the side. So that's 3 that you start with, and then there's 1 that you'll be able to unlock during the game.
Meeples. So it's always 3 meeples, except in a 2-players.
Right. Alright, so let's start going over gameplay. The game itself takes place over 8 rounds. That's why they're is a round tracker marker, and the rounds go to 8. At the beginning of the round, you're going to do the round setup. So the first thing you're going to do is flip 1 troll card.
Trolls here. Boom.
Then you will flip 2 dragger cards. And then since we have the expansion, you'll flip 2 burgessers. So those are filled in. It says refill empty journey spaces. So if you notice, all the journey spaces are empty. So this is actually filling, not refilling for now. Then you will fill the empty runes. So in the beginning, there's 2 empty spots, so you flip 2 runes. And then you will fill any monsters that are empty. And you will reveal the merchant ship card. So just flip that over. And on the top of it, it is the effect that it has.
Like, so those guys, that changes all the time. Just
Yep,
so
every round it'll be different. Then you will add 1 warrior to the swordsmith, the hafter, and the blacksmith, and 1 food to the smokehouse. So the white one will go to the swordsmith, the red one will go to the hafter, and the black one will go to the blacksmith. And Mickey put the food on the smokehouse.
Right, and these ones actually have a picture of the color dye on it, and then this one has a picture of the food icon. It doesn't show you the red thing, so you just have to remember that the red is the food and the brown is the wood.
And the key about these 4 spaces is that every round, when you do the round setup, if there are still dice or whatever cubes on it, you will put additional ones on, so they will grow and make them more, I guess, enticing. That's the word I was searching for, but I didn't know. All right.
Everybody needs to congratulate Jeb in this particular explanation, because you don't know it, but I know it. It's 8 in the morning. Jeb hates 8 in the morning. So there you go.
And I live an hour away, so I was up earlier. All right. So that's everything for round setup. I don't know. All that stuff was done in the beginning, right? Because that refills along the way.
Yeah, we actually did. We put that because this up here, if you're wondering, we covered this in setup. Okay, so there are 2 epic monsters. This does not fill until 4 or 5 players, and these are the Valkyrie blessing cards. This, when it's taken, gets replenished right away. It's not part of the rounds or either cleanup or setup. So that's why these were already set up, and that's why we're going over the rest of it a little differently, because it's actually, you do the things in a particular order.
Right. All right, so after everything's set up for the beginning of the round, you will do the worker placement, and that starts with the first player. And what's going to happen is they're going to place a meeple on one of the available spaces, and once they do that, if some of the spaces are immediate actions, the others are actions for later, and the brown and blue are the immediates, the red are the ones that are later. So I believe all the fighting is later, right. So they're red. So once the first player places a meeple, then the next player in turn order will place, and then the next person places, and it pretty much goes around until everybody has placed their meeples.
Right. And then you look for if the action, the combat spaces, if there's anybody there, then I'm going to resolve combat.
Right. So after worker placement is when you assign your Viking warriors. So any of the red spaces, if you have a meeple there, you will assign dice to that monster that you're going to fight. After everybody assigns everything, it's going to be the combat resolution. So that's just going to go in order from hunting grounds to troll to dragger to burgesser to monster. So that's usually how you resolve it. I believe that's what it says in the book, because sometimes it can make a difference. And then after combat is cleanup. So for cleanup, you're going to take back all your workers and return all the public ships that you used if you did. If the Yep. If the troll is not defeated, everyone gets one blame. There's the blame. You'll discard any undefeated draggers. So if there's any of these remaining, they'll be discarded at the end of the round. Discard any journeys that were revealed. So journeys to get to these monsters.
That doesn't mean wipe this out. That means only if this flipped over and
somebody actually went there.
Right.
Yeah.
Same with the journeys up at the Burgessers or whatever, however you pronounce them.
Alright, after you discard the journeys, you're going to add 1 coin to each undefeated monster.
These are monsters. It's important to know. I think this was one of my sticking points when I first started playing. These are monsters.
Yeah, because
even though everything else looks like a monster, they all have their own name. These are monster cards, and that's what they're referring to.
Yep.
These are troll cards, those are dragon cards, those are Burgessers cards, those are epic monsters. So these are the only thing at this phase that gets coins.
Yep. And then after you place the coins on that, you're going to advance the round marker. Unless it's the 8th round, or you're in the 8th round, then you'll go to final scoring. So that's a quick overview of how a round will go. So we need to explain everything else now. So right. I think we should talk about what each of the spaces do.
All right. So we're going to go over the immediate action spaces first, because once we get to the combat spaces, we'll deal with combat. So in any typical worker placement game, you take one of your meeples, you put it on a spot, you do what the spot says. So the runesmith, if I place in the runesmith, I'm by the runes, I pay 1 wood, which is a brown, and then I'm allowed to take one of these 2 cards.
Or draw
a blind one from the top. The significance of the rune cards is they have some kind of one-time power, and they also provide these circles on the card are victory points. So just for instance, this one says, look at the top 3 cards of either journey deck, place them back on the top of the deck in any order. So basically that would mean that at any point I can flip this card, it's a one-time use, look at the top 3 cards of this or the top 3 cards of that, and stack it so that I can either help myself or, you know, screw somebody else over, however you want to look at it.
Yes, the key is when you acquire it, it's face up in front of you, and to use it, you flip it face down. You still get the victory points at the end of the game.
Okay, moving down, the Sage's House. This one is you get to look at 1 face down journey card. So I can look at any of these face down ones, or either of those 2 face down ones. I can look at it, plus I get to draw one of the Destiny cards. Destiny cards have some kind of end game scoring. And this one says have the most Viking warrior dice at the end of the game. So the way these cards work is there's 2 numbers in the bottom corners. If you meet the condition and you are the one that satisfies what it says, then you get the victory points over here. If somebody ties you, then you get what's over here. They don't get it too. This is only for you. But as you can, well, you can't see maybe, the points are significantly reduced if you can't win it outright.
Right.
Right. And then moving down, the shipwright. So the shipwright is basically where you can build your own personal ship. And you pay X gold and X wood and take the appropriate ship. So the cost of the ships over here is what you'd have to pay. So for instance, this one is 1 wood and 2 gold, and it has a capacity of 7. Plus these ships over here provide victory points at the end of the game. So this ship is the cheapest, it has the lowest capacity, and it provides the least victory points, but again, it's the cheapest. And you might be thinking, I just want to get out on the water, so what, you know, right. I figure I don't need much, that's the one I'll buy. Once you purchase it, you literally take this, you put it by your card, and you have access to use that ship over and over again.
Nobody else can place on it.
Exactly. That's the shipwright, and then moving on to Jeb wants me to go to the Stave Church.
It's pretty easy. It's pretty much a conversion. If you spend 1 coin, then you get 1 of the glory tokens. And then there's also 3 coins for 2 glory, 6 coins for 3 glory, and 10 coins for 4 glory. So it's pretty much an exchange of money for glory.
Or, as the book calls them, favors.
Oh, is it? I thought it was glory.
It's 8 o'clock,
It's
people!
8 a.m. All right. Which one's... Oh, glory is victory points, right?
Funny. All right.
Okay. So that one's pretty easy. You're exchanging coins to get favor.
Yep. Then moving down to the boats, you can take either public boat. That's all right. It kind of... So the 2 different public longships, one has a capacity of 5, and you place it there, and the other one has a capacity of 10. However, in order to take this ship out, you have to pay a gold to do that. Also, since we're still talking about ships, as soon as you place, that's when you decide which spot you're going to take your boat to. Okay, so that's kind of important, because that's kind of the advantage of taking a ship first and actually placing it on a spot. If you placed it and didn't get to put it there first, and then somebody else that, like,
Right.
If they did it in turn order, you could kind of get screwed. So you do get to place the ship on the spot that you want as soon as you place your meeple there and pay the requirements or whatever. Or if this is over to my side personal ship, place it there and immediately put it on a spot that I want.
And one of the key things is when you place it on the shipwright, that's just building the ship. It's not building and then setting sail.
Right.
You have to place the meeple on the ship to be able to...
Yep.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jeb.
All right. So I'm going to move us back up here. Jar's Longhouse. What this does is when you place your meeple there, you take the first player token, and then you get to take one of the, I think they're called swordsmen.
Yep,
the white die, and put it, or you get to take it from the supply. So you pretty much take it and put it on your warrior.
Well, we don't have our leader dice on our board, not that it matters too much since we're not playing, but...
Well, I know we start with these as well.
Yeah, just in case for battle examples. Okay, so the other important thing to remember about that particular spot is that, and you're going to see us play it wrong a little bit, that spot there is the only way that first player marker moves, okay?
Yes, there is nothing within the round mechanics that says pass the starter token.
Right.
It's
so this
always
is the only way it moves. So
I'll do this. So Mickey's first player right now. So if I placed it, I would take first player from him. All right?
Yep.
Let's say I didn't do that. Let's say Mickey is in desperate need of a swordsman, and that's the only place he can go.
If I do it and I possess the starting player, I have to give up the starting player and pass it to my left. In this case, it would be over to Jeb.
Yeah.
So if I want the extra swordsman, then I have to be willing to give up the starting player. So just remember, starting player never changes unless this spot is occupied. And it will change no matter what if this is occupied.
Right.
So if you possess it, remember, you got to move it.
All right.
Oh, you can
I got
demonstrate.
mine.
You do have your own.
Next up is the market. So for resources, it says take a food, a money, or a wood, and exchange or trade, not take. So you're trading between the 3 resources, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you had 10 wood, you could switch it out for 10 gold. You could do
split it different ways, 5 and
5,
2
all
and
kinds
8, or whatever.
It's pretty much change around the stuff that you have.
Yep. No limit to the amount of trading you can do.
Yep. Just remember 1-to-1 ratio. Next up is the swordsmith, and this says take all the white dice from this spot. So if I place it here, I get this, and I put it on my board. If somehow, like round 4, it was like this, and I went like that. Hey, look, I got all of them because it built up over time.
Yep.
All right. Oh, and then the next two are pretty similar. So the hafter, when you place there, it says take all the red dye from the spot, and the blacksmith is take all the black dye. So that's pretty simple.
And same with the food, because that one can build up too.
Smokehouse, just take everything on
everything
that
that's
spot.
there. So the last space on the middle of the board is called the worker huts. When you place the worker huts, this space is a little bit different because it depends on when you take the worker hut action. Okay, so meaning it has a cost. The first player has to pay a certain amount, second player pays a certain amount, and third player, etc., pays a certain amount. So what it says is the first player pays 5, second player pays 4, 3, 2, and 1. So what that allows you to do is take the extra meeple you put off to the side of the board.
And that's paying gold. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, so paying gold, that does matter because it's not food and it's not wood.
Right.
Pay the gold, I pay 5 gold, then I would get my extra meeple that's off to the side. I don't know where he is right now.
And when you get that meeple, it goes into your meeple supply right away. So you get another
you get it that turn.
Yeah.
So the advantage is you're going to have an extra action every turn. You know, it costs some money, so you have to kind of like, oh, when's a good time to spend my money? Do I want it early? Do I want it late? Am I broke and I don't have any choice? You know, etc., etc. I mean, if you're gonna wait till you pay 1 in a 5-person game, it might be 5-6 rounds before you're able to do that. Now you might not have a choice either because everybody might jump right on top of it at the beginning. But anyways, that's the way it works. And the other important thing to remember about that spot, it's a one-time thing. You can't go get, because you have 5. There are 5 meeples. You can only have a maximum of 4, so it's a one-time use for you. And you can't, as far as I know, you can't just go sit there after you've done it. I think it's, if I remember correctly, it specifically says one-time use.
That makes sense to me. All right, over here we've got the merchant ship, which you place your meeple there, and you activate the ability of the merchant ship card. So this one is pay a gold to get 2 axemen, so that's pretty good. So that's, you place it there, you do what it says.
The merchant ship tends to have some pretty awesome stuff in it for pretty cheap.
Right. Over here is the beggar, and as many people as they want can place on the beggar. And what you do is you take a blame to get 1 of any resource that you want. So you got to be kind of desperate to beg in this game. So next up are the market stalls. And pretty much like all the other things, you just place your meeple there, and then you do the effect that is on there. So this one is you pay a resource, and you can exchange 2 of your dice for 2 dice from the supply. So
that's pretty potent.
Yep. Over here, 2 victory points. Over here, you get 2 gold. So that's what these do. These are random, so there's other ones that have different effects. So I think we've covered all the one-shot things. So everything left is pretty much fighting.
Yep.
So
let's start with the hunting ground. Yeah. Okay. So hunting ground, and the other space that as many people during a round can occupy as you want. So both Jeb and I could be there at the same time.
All right. So for the hunting grounds, this is not an immediate effect because it's a red thing, but later on when you resolve the hunting grounds, you'll be rolling your dice to try to acquire food. Over here is the troll, so if you place here, later on you're going to fight the troll, so you'll go into combat with the troll. Over here are 2 spots for the draggers, so whichever one you place under is the one that you'll be fighting later on. It's red as well. Over here are the Burgessers, and it's pretty much when you place here, you're determining who you're going to fight later.
Slightly different because of the journey cards, though.
Yes, and those get revealed right before you do the combat. And then say if I placed here earlier, and I went to one of the monsters, this later on I would combat the monster that I'm in front of. And as Mickey said, there's a journey along the way.
Right.
So
don't get confused just because this is brown on the ship.
Right.
That just means that's the indication that you actually get to move the ship in front of it. So you can pretend like this, once you move it down here, it turned red, and now you gotta wait to the combat.
Okay, so we've placed our meeples. Say it's during the middle of one of the rounds. We placed all our meeples, and once that's done, we are going to assign warrior dice to all the battles that are coming up.
Right.
So
at this point, we've pretended that everybody's already done doing all the stuff in here, and all that's left is where you see meeples left.
Yep.
Normally, there'd still be stuff out here, but...
Yeah. So everybody's already placed their meeples, so the next thing we immediately do is assign all our warrior dice to all the battles that you're involved in. So Mickey and I are in the hunting grounds. I think I'm just going to throw one archer there.
I will throw...
Oh, well, I guess.
I will do 2 archers.
And then Mickey's at the troll. He can choose what he wants to put there. And then I'm fighting a dragger, so I will throw some of these here. And then up there is the Burgesser. I'll throw the rest here. And one of the key things is when you're doing this, you need to look at the monsters, or the monsters, the Burgessers, or the Draugrs, to see if they have any special abilities. And up here, both of the Burgessers say, I cannot bring archers into the battle. So I don't think you can assign the green dice to it.
No, you can't bring it with you.
Right. So...
Because that way you'd be able to kill yourself, and that doesn't... Right.
Yeah.
So Jeb has no bows down here. I have no spearmen down here.
Yeah.
So look, Jeb would have been like, Mickey, take the red die off.
Yep.
So...
Maybe that's not what he wants to do.
I will, I'll just go get some, hopefully get some more food. And, yeah, so...
Alright, so both of us have assigned all our dice. So once all the dice are assigned, we're going to resolve all the combats.
Right.
So, and it starts with the hunting ground, so we're both there. So what do we do for hunting ground, Mickey?
Okay, so you're going to roll, you're going to grab your die, you're going to roll them, and then this you can do, well, you can do it simultaneously, you can do it one at a time. And for every hit, you get, excellent work, you get a food.
And it says a maximum of 6 food for that. So.
And so I got a hit, and then I got a hit here, but I have a little deer.
And on the deer is only on the archer die, and that means...
Double the food.
Alright, so Mickey got 1 hit off of the red die, so that's 1 food. And then he got the bow with the deer, and that counts as 2 food.
Great, so then I would just take the 3 red cubes, put it on my... wherever, in my supply, and then... hunting grounds don't kill anything, so yep. I can take all of those dice back.
And I got a wonderful 1 bow, so I get 1 food and take mine back. So that's how you resolve the hunting grounds. Next up is the troll.
Alright, so this is the first one where you're going to get to see how the combat actually works in the game. Hopefully at some point this will resolve so you can see some action, but I'm going to move this card a little bit just so I can roll and see the card at the same time.
So it says troll, and then it has a value for its attack and a value for its shield. So attack is how much damage it's going to do to you, and shield is how much you have to do to it to destroy it.
Right. And it is simultaneous, so even if I kill it, it still does its damage back.
Right, so first thing Mickey does is roll his die.
Okay.
So...
I got a nice good hit there.
He got 1, 2, 3, 4 hits on the troll. So he's doing 4 to the troll is doing 2 to him.
Alright. Good. I have no shields,
right.
So I can't block any of his damage. So that at this point I have to take 2 casualties because again he hits for 2. The way the casualties work in the game is you get to choose to die. They have to go back into the supply. So for each hit that he does, so 2 of these would have to go. In this particular case, I have a pink die. The pink die is called a berserker. Their ability is that they they only have one blank side and they have like a bunch of double sides. So they go crazy, okay? But if you get hit in battle, they must go first. So one of the 2 die has to be pink.
Yep, so that's going to the supply.
That's going to the supply. And then I look at the other ones and I'm like, oh, I don't want to lose my leader yet, because the only way you can get your leader back is by getting one of those cards, which we'll talk about later. So I'm going to choose to sacrifice the Axeman, and then I get to take my leader back, and this card will basically die. So now we look at the bottom of the card, right?
Yep. So you resolve left to right. That's
right?
the easiest way
Yep.
to just do
So
it.
5 victory points.
So those are immediate.
Right.
So once you defeat any kind of enemy, the victory points are immediately done. So Mickey went up 5.
Right, and then what the other symbol means at the bottom is I get to discard a blame back into the supply, and then I get to assign a blame from the supply. The blame, depending on how many you have, is going to be negative points at the end of the game, and it's not a 1-to-1 ratio.
Right.
Once you start getting up, so you can really hurt yourself if you get too many.
Just 6 and above is minus 21. So
Whoa.
that's
Right. And then the last thing on the card is I gain a wood resource. So that I would take and put the supply. I get to keep the card with me face down, so nobody knows what I have except for the top card. Also, you get
this is because we're playing with the expansion.
This is part of Valhalla. I get, for each die that died,
So he had a Berserker and an Axeman die.
and there are little chits that show the symbols. Pink one for the Berserker, black one for the Axeman. I take those, and then I put them in my Valhalla, on my Valhalla card, and I can save those up to use for the Valkyrie blessings or the epic monsters.
Yes, so once battle is resolved, you have the opportunity to spend those tokens to gain any of the cards that are up here.
And there is a cost, and it's pretty easy. It's just you look at the cost on the card, and if you meet the cost, you take them from your Valhalla board, return them to the supply, and you get to take the card. You get the effect of the card. The epic monsters supply victory points. These usually give you back your leader, or they have some kind of permanent effect that you get to keep in front of you for the rest of the game. There's not much more to say about those because we're not going to read every single one.
Yeah, the ones that give you back the leader, it's pretty much get the leader back plus some other conditions. So like this one's get the leader back and you get any 3 resources. So it's kind of stuff like that you see. And then also there's the spin 2 of any to get a victory point, or spin 3 of any to get a die from the supply of any color.
Right, and that's always in effect, as you can see. That's just built into the board, so you don't get stuck with, oh, I got a whole bunch of dead things. There's nothing I can do with them.
All right. So Troll has been resolved. So now we go over to the Dragger. So guess what? This works the exact same way. So this Dragger has 2 attack, 3 shield. So I'll roll real quick. I got 4 attack and no shields. So he's going to destroy 2 of my dice. I destroy him. So I guess I'll just pick the white and the red. So I would get the Valkyrie, or from the expansion, I'll get the tokens. I would take these and place them on the burial grounds.
Jeb being concerned about proper terms. It is really early in the morning.
Oh, I'm a wild card. Alright, and then since I defeated him, it says 6 victory points and then 4 gold. So I'll grab the 4 gold real quick. And then the victory points, I'll just quickly move up. And then that's it for the Dragger. So not too much difference. Pretty much the Troll and the Dragger are just, you resolve combat.
Yep.
The things that get kind of different are the Burgessers and the monsters. Alright, so we will resolve the Burgessers. So I'm the only one fighting one. So the way this works, since there's a journey card, before I actually do the combat, I'm going to flip the journey card. And Mickey's happy because it says Avalanche. lose one of any of the die that I had assigned to it.
Chubb's gonna take his berserker off.
No, I'm not that bad this early. I'm going to choose my white die, and since this, I believe it's anytime you lose a die except for when you try to gain one but you are full, is when you would get a token.
So, thematically, anytime somebody dies in the game, you get one of the tokens that match the die, okay? So what Jeb's talking about is you have a limited number of space to store dice on your board. If you acquire dice and you would go over, that doesn't count as somebody sacrificing themselves or dying, so you get no token for that.
Alright, so I resolve the journey card, and now I will do the fight really quick. He's a 3 attack, I'm a 1 defense. Wow, that was really bad.
That's a great example.
So I did 2 damage, and he's doing 3 damage to me. Alright, so I instantly defeat him, but he's also destroying all 3 of my dice.
Right.
So I would get the 3 tokens for each of them, don't worry about it. And then he would die, and it says I get 9 victory points, and I get a green die for defeating him. So, like, ooh, that wasn't supposed to be there. So I would take the card, put it in my thing, and that's it for that battle.
Right.
So.
And then the very last one are the monsters. Okay. So, first off, it's going to be I look at the card, and then I look at how much it costs me to be in this space. So you're on a journey, you're on a ship journey, so you have to be able to feed your crew. And so in this space, 1 food equals 2 die. That's
so
what
one food, you need 1 food for every 2 dice.
Okay? So, if you'll notice, I don't have any food on there. Food is supposed to be placed at the time you place the die. So, if you notice, I can move my ship down there, and I could, and then I can wait for the placing of the die. And in this case, maybe I was hoping that I was going to be able to use this spot. Somebody took the spot. I wasn't able to convert any food. Yep. Perhaps I couldn't go to the marketplace. Perhaps I forgot, and then Jeb laughs at me.
Yep.
But if
some unfortunate circumstance has put Mickey with 2 Viking dice and no food.
And literally, these would just die.
Yep.
And then I would get those
because of starvation.
Okay, so the last step is fighting the monsters. Okay, so the way this resolves is first I flip the journey card, just like Jeb did up there. I got it all quiet.
Of course he would.
So no bad things happen. Like, bad things happen to Jeb, not to Mickey. And then, if you notice down here, there's a key for feeding your people, because you're on a journey, you gotta feed people on the boat, blah, blah, blah. In this case, it is 1 food per 2 die.
A quick thing, this is 1 food, 2 die, 1 food, 2 die. This one is 1 food, 1 die. So this one is a little harder to do.
And same with 4 players.
Yes, 4 players.
Okay, so as you can see, guess what? Mickey forgot to put food on his ship. So the warriors die.
Yep, and he would get the tokens for them dying, because this is something other than him just not being able to fill them.
Okay, so food needs to be placed at the time of dice assignment, just so you know. So,
and another key thing is the capacity of the ship also counts how many food tokens you have.
It's literally number of things that you put on the ship.
Right, so right now the capacity of this ship is 5. Mickey's filled it with two warriors. So say Mickey was assigning and he actually remembered to put food, or he was able to at that point.
I put the food.
So,
and I could put extra food too.
He could.
If I was like, because some of the cards will take food away from you.
Right.
So, or tell you to feed everybody twice, or whatever it says.
Yeah.
So it's possible, and if you wanted to be extra safe, or maybe you got the peek at a card and knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and you really wanted that particular monster. Anyways, so at this point, I pay the food, back into the supply, and now I do combat with the monster. No spearmen. I don't have any spearmen. And he's swinging for 3 But I only have to hit him one time.
Yep.
So that's not too bad.
Ooh, Mickey got lucky.
So
the yellow die, I don't know if we've mentioned it, but that's the shield swordsman.
Shieldsman.
And they have some sides have attack, and I think all the other sides have a shield with
An attack
on it. So that's what Mickey rolled. It's one hit and one block.
Right. So doesn't really help me much in this situation.
Yeah.
So if I had I guess 4 die or whatever. Anyways, so I block 1. He's still hitting for 2. Both of those are going to die. I hit him for 1 because of the shield, and they go off.
And then,
all right, and I would get don't forget the dead people chips and things like that.
Yep. And then for this, Mickey would get any gold that's sitting on top of it because that's what that's being placed there for, to make it more enticing. Then he would get the 12 victory points, and then he gets one of the
favors. Okay, we didn't talk about the favors, but these are really, really important during combat because if I get a really crappy roll,
like what I just had,
right, I can spend a favor, and I can re-roll any die that I want. All right, just one time, but
any amount of
any amount of die.
Right.
So like if 1 was good, I could take the other die or number of die and re-roll them, and then I spend that. And you can do that as many times as long as you have a token to spend. All right. So let's show a different one. It was the same thing, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is what I had rolled last time. And if I was fighting this guy.
This guy is a 2 attack and a 3 shield. I don't think they can see.
Right. This is a very good example of how combat that doesn't go in your favor works.
Right.
Alright. So, I rolled a no-hit, a hit, and a shield. So, I do 1 damage to him, so we take a damage marker.
Yep. The game it includes 3 of these, which I think is
all
enough.
You need. Yep.
So what you would do, since Mickey does 1 damage and he needs 3 to be killed, you would place the 1 token on there to show that Mickey's done a damage.
Right. And then it does 2 damage to me, however I got a shield.
So that blocks it, 1 of them.
1.
So that's 1 damage to Mickey.
Remember, guess what? I have a berserker. Berserker has to die first, so I don't get to choose what dies in this particular situation. Now I start another round of combat.
Yes. Ooh.
I got a double hit,
so
and it really worked out well.
That was the best Mickey could have got.
Right. So I ended up finishing him off.
Yep.
But I didn't block him, and there's no double shields anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. So this is gonna die. I will get this card and this gold.
And then the token just goes back off to the side.
Exactly. So, if in this spot, and that spot also, anywhere that there's journey cards, if you run out of die and it hasn't died, you just lose, the card stays there, and they're going to regain full health for the next round. And so, basically, that's combat. So,
one other thing.
Hopefully, I didn't forget anything, but Jeb's interrupting me, so I did.
Yeah. So, the leader die, when you roll it during combat, there is a chance that you can hit, there's 2 out of the 6 sides is the little Viking helm, and if you roll that during battle, you instantly get to do the effect of your hero. So, if Mickey had rolled this for his combat against the monster, what does your hero do?
I get to activate the effect of a rune in the supply, or I get to gain 1 wood from the supply. So what that means is I can look at either of these 2 cards and activate this ability, or I can just take one of these if none of those really help me. Does not mean I get the victory points. It just means I get the ability.
And then if this was what he rolled against the monster, he did no hits, and the monster hits back for 2, so he would lose both of them. He still gets the leader ability. It's not like if it's going to die, he wouldn't. So the second that it rolls that, he gets the ability. All right, so I think we've covered everything that you can do with combat and all that stuff. So
hopefully that made sense, because combat really is straightforward. I think
it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I think it's just like, honestly, you can take some pretty big risks in this game because
Right.
it's not always hard to kill stuff.
Yeah, it's just, you'll probably lose the stuff that you said.
Yeah, you're just gonna you most likely lose the stuff you go in because who has shields? White die
I
have
believe
shields,
the red,
and the white,
white,
and yellow
have shields.
Okay, and nobody else has shields. So if you're not
Yeah.
bringing in one of those,
You're eating all
everybody's
the
dying.
damage.
Yeah. So and that's kind of how they split up the monsters. It feels like they either have high defense, low attack. Or
There's
medium.
some mid.
Yeah,
I think
so-
the worst I've seen was a 3-3 on a troll.
So, anyways, that's basically combat. And if you have any questions on it, obviously let us know. But I think it's pretty easy to understand.
Yep. And then you pretty much do 8 rounds of this. Since combat's done, we will now move to the cleanup phase. And I went over it really quick earlier, but we're actually going to show you.
Yeah.
So what you're going to do is take back all your workers. So that's grabbing them off their spaces. And then any longboats or longships or whatever they are going to go back to where they need to be. So the public ones go back into the public space. If you took your own, it would just go back in front of you. Next, you are going to see if the troll was defeated. It was, so everybody does not receive a blame. If it was still there, everybody would receive 1 blame.
Right. So, if you remember, troll died. Whoever killed the troll got to get rid of a blame, assign a blame. If the troll is still standing, everybody has to take a blame because the villagers are like, you guys suck.
Yeah. Alright, next up is discard any undefeated Draugr. So there is 1 undefeated Draugr, so he will get discarded. There's actually an enemy discard down here. I believe that's on the board as well. So that's done. Discard revealed journey cards. So there was a revealed journey card here, 1 there. So there's a little discard here. Then you will add 1 coin to each undefeated monster. So they are getting pretty nice rewards.
I don't know how they got their first one. I think we described it earlier and put one.
And then you are going to advance the round marker. So it goes from 1 to 2. And if it's the 8th round, then you'd go into checking for in-game who wins.
Right. So keys to notice in what Jeb just said, because now we're going to go back to round setup. We're going to fill in, obviously, empty spaces. Okay, so just one thing. I think when Jeb went over that, because it was defeated, that we just kind of skipped it over. However, if he hadn't been defeated, he would have been discarded down into the pile.
Yes, so the troll and the Draugrs get discarded at the end of the round.
Okay, notice that monsters and Burgosaurs stay. If they were damaged, they get healed.
Yep.
And I just wanted to point that out, that those are the only 2 that don't get discarded. Then we would roll back into the
Beginning of the next round.
Round setup, or whatever you want to call it.
Yep. So
all these spaces that you see are basically going to be refilled.
flip the troll, flip Draugrs, fill in Burgzer, fill in Journey, Monster Journey. This would flip, Runes would fill, and then we'd add 1 to each of these.
Yep. And then you'd just do the same thing 8
Back
times.
Yep. So, all right, let's pretend into the 8th round. So now we need to see who wins, right?
That's right.
All right, so the rulebook says to start with the player in last, and then everybody's going to sort their monsters
It's kind of fun to start with the person in last,
to see.
because they're probably going to take the lead when you do all their things, and then it's kind of like, oh, am I going to get enough? So anyways.
All right, so right now Mickey's last player, and then we both have some monsters, so we'll just show this really quick. What's going to happen is everybody's going to reveal all their face-down things that they defeated.
You're going to have more than this.
Yeah, and then you'll sort them by color. And then what you're going to do is first...
Troll is not a color.
Right. First, you will score your Destiny card. So, Mickey, your Destiny card.
My Destiny card said Monster Hunter. Have the most monster cards at the end of the game. Now, here's an example of... You have to look at the back of the card.
Yes.
Because you want to find the card that says Monster.
I have Draugr and Burgzer, so I have none.
I have a monster, and so that means I win.
Yep, so he gets his victory condition.
Which says 4.
So he'll move up 1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, if Jeb had had a monster or even two monsters, well, if he had a monster, that would be a tie. And in a tie, actually, it says 2 plus. So I guess I get something.
No, that's if multiple people tied with you.
Oh, multiple people.
So, like, if 3 people had 1 monster.
Gotcha.
So Mickey would get 2 points if we had tied. If I had more than him, he'd get no points.
Alrighty.
Alright, next up, he will get 5 glory for each set of monsters that he has.
Alright, so set of monsters is a blue and a yellow
And a red.
and a red. That's a set of monsters.
However, neither of us have a set. But if Mickey had these 3 in front of him, he would get 5 points.
And if I had another set of that color, I'd get 5 more points.
Yep.
Important thing to remember about that is that cards can only be used once in a set.
Yes. There are some other cards that say, like, I think one of these guys, if you have them, he'll make all the reds count double. So there's things like that. They count double in sets.
So you could have 1 red card and
2
then
blue, 2 yellow. Alright, next you'll score rune cards. So if you had taken any runes during the game and they're in front of you, you would score the victory points on them.
Okay.
Neither of us have runes, so nope. Then you'll score private longships. So if you had bought...
there's victory points down there. This one happens to be a 6. This one happens to be an 8. And this one happens to be a 4, just FYI.
If you had any unspent favor tokens, you would get 2 victory points for each one of these. Then if you had 3 unspent coins, you would get 1 victory. Or glory, I guess is what they're called. So
per set of 3.
Yeah, so I have 4, so that's 1 set of 3. I would get 1 victory point, and then this is just spilt over for nothing. And then you will lose glory based off of the blame table. So we'll look at the blame table. I have 1 blame, Mickey has none, so Mickey doesn't lose anything. When I go around to scoring myself, I would lose 1 victory point. And then after everybody does that, whoever has the most glory wins.
Yep.
And if there's a tie, it's who defeated the most enemies.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So, that was a quick verbal overview. Might not have been as clear as if you thought. You could also watch gameplay.
Just watch
back
the end
up
of our
5
game.
minutes or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you can watch us talk about us scoring a full game.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty exciting game too, honestly, at the end. So again, like I said, if you have any questions, let us know. But I'm pretty sure we covered most everything that you would need.